Hello, dear students. This is Neerja Rani Pathak, Professor of English, posted at Government College, Machandur. I welcome you in this session of video lecture prepared for the Hemchand Yadav University, Durg. The given topic of today's discussion is William Hazlitt as an essayist and stylist. My dear students, as you must know, William Hazlitt was born in 1778 and lived up to 1830. This period is important because he lived through a time when Romanticism was ruling the literary scenario. When we read about Hazlitt, we get to know that he happened to have had meetings with Coleridge, as recorded in his essay, My First Acquaintance with Poets. Needless to say, he must necessarily have come under the influence of William Wordsworth also, resulting in his love for outdoors, excursion, undertaking journeys, and seeking soulful solace in the lap of nature. We also get to know that Hazlitt studied art pretty seriously and wanted to become a painter. It would be interesting to learn that he grew himself as a painter of no mean merit, but for reasons best known to him, gave up the pursuit somewhere midway. When we take to a study of Hazlitt's writings, he reveals himself as a very avid reader of classics and philosophy. The noted French philosopher Rousseau was his beloved above all writers, although he studied with care the humanitarian philosophers like Locke, Hume, Burke, and Spencer too. And as if enough was not enough, Francis Bacon and Montaigne also held Hazlitt's serious interest. We discovered that Montaigne wrote in the first person pronoun, that is I, because the only person he knew thoroughly was himself. And this is also true of Hazlitt, who wrote like a man who wears his heart upon his sleeve. He also chose to write in the first person in most of his essays. Academic pundits have branded Hazlitt as a literary vagabond, maybe because he had multifarious interests and hobbies besides a restless spirit. Traditionally speaking, the term literary vagabond refers to someone who does not follow the traditional beaten path. While most men aspire to seek power and pelf, a vagabond is interested in enjoying the rich variety of pleasures available to him in life. Hazlitt loved nature, loved books, loved pictures, loved the theatre. He loved music and dancing, good conversation and fellowship. Hazlitt, the curious tester of life, had the restless inquisitiveness of the literary vagabond about him. The vagabondage and intellectual curiosity combined together give a delightful piquancy to many of his utterances. As a lover of nature, Hazlitt wanders far and wide and is ever ready to go anywhere for a fresh sensation that may add a new flavor to his intellectual kitty. He delighted in open nature, and this love of nature bubbled forth in his immortal essay on Going a Journey. He wrote, Give me the clear blue sky over my head and the green turf beneath my feet, a winding road before me, and a 3 hours march to dinner, and then to thinking. It is hard if I cannot start some game on these lone heaths. I laugh, I run, I leap, I sing for joy. Again he wrote, what I like best is to lie whole morning on a sunny bank on Salisbury Plain, without any object before me, neither knowing nor yearning how time passes, and thus with light winged toys of feathered idleness to melt down hours of moments. Some critics have dubbed Hazlitt terse and abstruse, but that is a direct reflection of his deeply philosophical bent of mind. Courtesy Rousseau et al. But barring a few portions which hang heavy in some of his essays, Hazlitt remains delectable and delightful. Let us now consider him as a stylist. R.L. Stevenson, a great stylist himself, has opined about Hazlitt. Though we are mighty fine fellows nowadays, we cannot write like Hazlitt. You have been given to understand that when we talk of style, we find that it stands categorized as spontaneous style number 1 and assiduously labored style number 2. R.L. Stevenson would find a niche for himself in the second category, but Hazlitt stands out far apart. His style is spontaneous as well as studiously labored, but Hazlitt at times gets away with an admixture of the two. In other words, Hazlitt has worked in the grey area between the two stated styles, or between black and white. Hazlitt's essays, like The Indian Jugglers, Ongoing a Journey, On Reading Old Books, The Flight, and the like, display an intimate, personal, familiar, and subjective style. You may not have forgotten, we have earlier seen that, like Montaigne, Hazlitt liked to draw from the stock of his personal experience and learning and wrote in the first person. We have already learned that Hazlitt had a natural inclination for philosophy, and he pretty much satiated this urge by digging deep into the writings of the philosophers mentioned earlier. Under such influence, whenever he went into a brooding, pensive, philosophical mood, his style became reflective. The essay on the ignorance of the learned is one such example, although it carries a satirical strain as well. Ian Jack, a critic, is of the opinion that, I quote, Hazlitt moves among abstract ideas with an ease and familiarity that contrasts oddly with Lamb. Lamb wrote on chimney sweepers, the South Sea House, weddings and whist. Hazlitt wrote on reason and imagination, on egotism, on the past and the future. His essays are more serious than Lamb's, or serious in a different sense. Unquote. All said and done, Hazlitt smacks of having favored an eclectic style of writing, choosing to be personal, philosophical, thoughtful, and also descriptive. Wherever he chooses to describe a natural phenomenon, he tries his hand like a painter would, thereby bringing in a very picturesque description as if gratifying his initial painter's instincts. Now, let me give you a word or two on his syntax and choice of words. Hazlitt's essays unfailingly give you a scholarly flavor. He chooses his words meticulously in accordance with the gravity of the subject at hand. A casual reader might sometimes find it difficult to comprehend, but a serious reader, after going through his works, finds himself enriched in content, thought, and the human experience therein. By way of conclusion, I may submit that Hazlitt continues to shine like a bright star in the firmament of English prose. Thank you.